Is celebrating Halloween a sin? To some, that could be a relatively difficult question. Some say that it is a day to worship the dead and even Satan. Some say that we are not to glorify evil and death in the way that we do on Halloween. Some say it is a pagan holiday and Christians should not participate and glorify paganism in that way. I believe that those of us with this mindset are missing the point of the holiday and the modern way of celebrating that has become custom and tradition in our society. Let's start by taking a look at the history of Halloween. Halloween started thousands of years ago as the Celtic holiday Samhain. Samhain was the time of the year when spirits of the dead were able to roam the earth more freely than normal. Some believed that their deceased loved ones could visit them, and some believed that these spirits had enough power on this night to attack, hurt, and even kill the living. This is why people would dress up in scary costumes. They would be trying to accomplish one of two things: either scare off the evil spirits or blend in with them so they would not cause harm. People would carve turnips and gourds, as we now do with carving pumpkins into jack-o'-lanterns, to ward off malevolent spirits and to welcome deceased loved ones. Eventually, as the Catholic Church has a history of doing, they worked this into the church. November 1st became All Saints' Day, a day to honor the saints of the church worldwide. November 2nd became All Souls' Day, a day to honor and respect the dead. October 31st became All Hallows' Eve, shortened to Halloween, and the celebrations continued from then on as a Christian holiday. This day was never intended to worship or glorify the dead, but to honor and respect the dead, as well as protecting the family from malevolent spirits that could be wandering. I am sure there are paganists around that use this day to worship the dead and their gods of the dead, and possibly even Satan as well. But that was not the original intention. So what does this mean for us as Christians? 2 Timothy chapter 1 verse 7 states, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." Meaning that with Christ we should never be fearful unless it is of a godly fear. A lot of this holiday was about fear, even when the Christians celebrated. So is it wrong because we shouldn't allow ourselves to fear? No. We all face fear, even with Christ in our lives. When we do something wrong, do we not have fear of the consequences? When our car hydroplanes and we start spinning out of control, do we not have fear of the outcome? I don't care how religious anyone is, we all have fear, even when we know that God is protecting us and we act upon that fear. Right or wrong, this happens in our lives. So we cannot use this as an excuse, saying these people should have not feared these demons and spirits, as it was a different time than today. They had a lack of knowledge and understanding that today we do not have. We understand more than any generation before us, and their lack of understanding makes their fears seem rational for their time. Dressing up and carving pumpkins was a way for Christians, as well as others, to protect themselves during that time. Now, speaking of it being a different time, this is not why most people in modern times celebrate Halloween. We celebrate it now out of tradition and out of new meanings for the holiday. We as humans like to have fun. We dress up our children, take them out house to house collecting candy. It's the only day out of the year where we have an extreme amount of community involvement and having fun together. Even more than Christmas or Easter or the 4th of July with the fireworks, we have more people participate and get together on Halloween than any other day of the year. So I ask, what is wrong with that? What is wrong with celebrating the silly, irrational fears of our ancestors by dressing up and going door to door collecting candy? We are not worshiping Satan. We are not glorifying the dead. We are having fun and celebrating as families and as a community. If we take the aspects of the past, we are still not glorifying death or the dead. We are honoring them. Do we not have respect for our grandparents who are no longer with us? Or our father? Or our brothers? Or our best friends? Do we not honor Christ day in and day out who died for us? We are not to glorify the dead, but we are to honor them. Now, some of us out there will argue that this holiday is rooted in paganism. I cannot argue against that fact. Its origins are rooted in paganism. But I can say that Christianity took over the holiday and gave it new meaning. Now, for those of us that think that we should not celebrate Halloween because of its pagan roots, I ask, how many of us Christians out there are taking their kids out for an Easter egg hunt? How many of us Christians actually know where these celebrations come from? Easter comes from the Queen of Heaven cult, which we are warned of in Jeremiah chapter 7. This cult was started by a woman who claimed her son to be the Messiah and started her own religion, or cult, if you will. Her son was killed by a boar while hunting, and the woman buried her son in a cave. She then created a group of high priestesses called nuns who dug up his body and hid it. She then announced to her followers that her son had resurrected and was brought to heaven. She used a rabbit as one of her main symbols, and later on, they painted eggs and hid them for children to collect, symbolizing God searching for and finding his son the Messiah and bringing him home to heaven. With this, she also started Lent and the fasting that goes with it. This is not a Christian tradition at all. In fact, it is a celebration that was originally an abomination of the truth. But we still celebrate Easter because it has become something different in modern times. We use a pagan ritual to glorify Christ. So why would we treat Halloween any differently? Also, many of the names of our days of the week and our months are named after pagan gods. So should we change the names on our calendar because they're rooted in paganism? Probably not. Now, the true answer to the question, is celebrating Halloween a sin, is not the same for everyone. Personal sins, or something that you may consider a sin for yourself when it is not a sin for everyone, do exist. Romans chapter 14, verse 14. I know and I am convinced by the Lord Jesus that there is nothing unclean of itself, but to him who considers anything to be unclean, to him it is unclean. So if you consider Halloween to be dangerous and to be a sin for you, then we should all respect that. Act on what you think is best for you and the direction that God gives you, but remember, if you are a Christian, then you are not to judge others for what they do. Matthew 7, verses 1 through 5. Judge not, that you be not judged. For with what judgment you judge, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured back to you. And why do you look on the speck in your brother's eye, but do not consider the plank in your own eye? Or how can you say to your brother, let me remove the speck from your eye, and look, a plank is in your own eye? Hypocrite! First remove the plank from your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. We also have Luke chapter 6, verse 37. Judge not, and you shall not be judged. Condemn not, and you shall not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. We are not to be angry and judge and be hateful at Sally, who goes to our church because her and her kids are trick-or-treating. That doesn't make sense at all. That is not the word that has been given to us. John chapter 13, verse 34 through 35. This is the word of Christ himself. A new commandment I give to you, that you love one another. As I have loved you, that you also love one another. By this all will know that you are my disciples, if you have love for one another. Like I said, this is the word of Christ, and no matter the situation, we should abide by it. We are to live as Christ-like as possible and show love, only love, to one another as Christ loves us. If we are not living in this way, we are not truly saved, and we are not truly Christians. In conclusion, to each their own. If you don't want to celebrate Halloween, that is up to you, and I respect that. But think about your reasons. Does it make sense to deprive our children of the fun occurring within the community because pagans celebrated the holiday thousands of years ago? Remember the Easter egg hunt, and that was a pagan ritual as well. Remember, we are not worshiping Satan, and you and I both know it. Take the time to explain the holiday to your child. Understand what it is, and understand that it is okay to play dress up and meet other people in your community and celebrate and have fun. It's okay. We aren't going to hell for celebrating Halloween. If you have accepted Jesus and you strive to be as sin-free as possible, then you know that no matter what, you will be in heaven. Halloween isn't going to stop that. But again, if it is a personal sin to you, then stray away. There is nothing wrong with that. Just don't judge me, because I love Christ and I dress up for Halloween and I give out candy and I decorate my house with all kinds of crazy Halloween stuff. That is not your job to do. And to do so means you have missed the point of being a Christian.